It's the Bearded Movie Guy, BMG Radio. This week on BMG Radio, we look at shrinking and growing bigger, and shrinking and growing bigger, and shrinking, never mind, yeah, and all those things. We also look at top 2003 movies, and what I've been watching, and what I've been buying. So stay tuned. Let's see what it's all about. Brought to you by the Bearded Movie Guy. Hi, the Bearded Movie Guy, and today on BMG Radio, this week we're looking at Ant-Man and the Wasp. We're going to be looking at the top 2003 movies, what came out that year, obviously, and what I've been watching, what I've been buying, and because I bought some stuff, a little bit, and yeah, and that's and trailer of the week. So. Starting off with Ant-Man and the Wasp. I got to see this for work, as I've mentioned before. Anyone who's listened probably knows I occasionally get to see movies for work, so I got to see this one. I got to see the whole thing, no problems. It was nice and quiet, thankfully. And let's get into it. So, Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man movie I was really looking forward to because it was Edgar Wright doing it, and then Edgar Wright bailed because they didn't want to make the movie that he wanted to make, which probably would have been a better movie, but I still liked Ant-Man. I really did. I thought it was good. A lot of part of it was because it was still his script they were using as a framework, and then they were adding to it. So it's like it still had kind of little Edgar Wright feels, even though it wasn't Edgar Wright. And I like Paul Rudd. I've always liked Paul Rudd. I think he's a good actor. I think he's very funny. And so, you know, Evangeline Lilly's very easy to look at and very talented actress. Michael Douglas is good. So overall, I enjoyed the first one. The second one, I enjoyed too. A little less, to be truthful, because it's not a heist movie the same way. The first one being a heist movie, really kind of like I love heist movies, so it kind of kept my attention better. This one, it's fun. They play a lot more with the powers and stuff, and then they have this new character, Ghost, with what they're doing, and who's a sympathetic villain, and very pretty. I don't know who she is. I don't think I've seen her in anything else, but very, very attractive leading villain. So the basic plot is like Hank or Scott Lang, who's played by Paul Rudd, is not Ant-Man anymore. He hasn't been for like 2 years since the whole Germany thing in Civil War. He's basically been under house arrest. And you start the story with him being 3 days till he's off house arrest, and he hasn't talked to Hank Pym or Hope Van Dyne for that entire time, that last 2 years. And then you see like they do a whole exposition thing with a guy talking about like catching everyone up in a funny way to a child. That was like, wow, this is a lot of exposition, but he's doing it in a funny way, so it's okay. And but basically he hasn't seen them, hasn't had any contact with them, and then he has a dream about something that happened in the quantum realm and calls them on a cell phone that he has, and then immediately goes, that was stupid, and destroys the phone, and then they kidnap him, and he has to become Ant-Man again for various reasons. They're trying to do stuff with the quantum realm, and they need his help. So there's a whole subplot. So there's the FBI people. That's one kind of subplot. Then you have Walton Goggins. Walton Goggins is a great actor. I love Walton Goggins. But Walton Goggins is wasted in this. He's, like, if you know Walton Goggins, he's from Justified and The Hateful Eight. And he's a great Southern speaker. And when you give him some meaty, like, Tarantino dialogue, he's just awesome. When you give him normal dialogue that's just subpar, it's just, like, he did the best he could with it. It's not his fault. That character could have been played by anybody. He didn't need Walton Goggins for that. It was kind of like, just, if you had Walton Goggins, give him someone to work with, but the character kind of just is like, he's a bad guy, but it's just, you know. And then there's character Ghost. So there's a whole bunch of bad guys. Some of which are bad guys, some of which are good guys just trying to do the right thing, even though it's bad for the heroes, FBI. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun moments, and it's shot pretty decently. My phone's dinging again. I got to put it on vibrate. I apologize. So, but it was a little underwhelming, I'll be honest. So I came away from going, that was fun, that was good. And there's been a bunch of Marvel movies like that lately, not including Infinity War. But like a lot of the sequels that have been coming out lately have been a little underwhelming. I know everyone loved Thor Ragnarok. I thought Thor Ragnarok was good. It was funny, but the story itself was really not all that impressive. So, and like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I thought was very disappointing. It's like one of my most disappointing Marvel films because of how good the first one was. This one doesn't fall in those same categories. It's not super disappointing. It's just not. I don't think it's quite as good as the first one, but it's pretty close. There's some good action. There's some fun car chases. Michael Pena. Sorry, whoever Robert Pena is. Michael Pena. Has my favorite part in the movie. It's where the bad guys give him truth serum, and he keeps on calling it truth serum, and they keep on saying it's not. And then they give him truth serum, and he just is unleashed to talk, and it's the best part of the movie. It wasn't hard to film, and it was incredibly funny. Like very little CGI required for what he's talking about. It's just him just going, and yeah. Overall, I give Ant-Man and the Wasp 3 beards out of 5. I enjoyed it. I'm going to go see it again with my family who haven't seen it yet. We're seeing it on Tuesday. So I look forward to seeing it again. I have no problem seeing it again. I may be able to pick out some things I didn't get in the first one. And there's 2 after credit scenes. So there's one that's like a minute in. That's worth staying for. I'm giving you a heads up if you haven't seen it. Probably everyone who's listening to this has seen it. But if you haven't seen it, once you've seen that after credit scene with the van, you'll know what I'm talking about. Once you see it, you can leave the theater. Because the after credit scene after that, at the very end, not worth your time. It's a scene that was shown in the trailer of an ant playing drums. That's it. Like, there's a little bit more goes in with that, but it's really not necessary to see. It's not worth your 5 minutes of hanging around watching credits. So yeah. So Ant-Man and the Wasp. Have you seen it? Let me know what you thought of it, what you give it as a score. I give it 3 out of 5. I put it in my Marvel list, and I rank it near the middle, I think. I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Next up, we're doing Trailer of the Week. This week, the Trailer of the Week is The Night That Eats the World. This is a zombie movie that looks like it could be a successor to 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later. It looks like it may be like... I literally thought it was 28 months later when I saw the trailer the first time, and then it says the Night That Ate the World. Or That Night That Eats the World. Ate the World, Eats the World. One of the two. Doesn't matter. It looks like a really interesting zombie movie. It looks funny. It looks action-packed. And, you know, I'm always down for a good zombie movie. So I highly recommend checking it out. Let me know if you watch the trailer. If you've seen the trailer already, I'm going to just say let me know because I know no one comments on these things. But, you know, if you've seen it or you watched the trailer because I just recommended it, I'll put a link in the description to the trailer. And let me know if you watch it and what you think. So the trailer of the week, The Night That Eats the World. Moving on to my top 10. Now my top 10 this week, we've been doing the 2000s. I'm working my way backwards. I probably should have started at the other end, but I'm working my way backwards anyways. So, 2003 is this week. Now 2003, I'm just going to say, we'll say what the Best Picture winners or Best Picture for Oscars was, which is the 2004 Oscars, because 2003 movies, 2004 Oscars. The nominees were Seabiscuit, Mystic River, Master and Commander, Far Side of the World, Lost in Translation, and Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Now, 2 of those made my top 10. One of those, I think, made my top 20, that like 11 to 20, I think. So, and what also won, like, obviously Lord of the Rings won that year. That was, like, the year that they basically paid back Lord of the Rings because they hadn't been giving it Oscars for the last 2 years, because they were like, we're going to have to keep giving Lord of the Rings Oscars, so we'll just hold off till Return of the King, and then we'll give them Oscars. And that's basically what they did. Like, it won pretty much every category it was nominated in, because it was kind of like a communal, hey, you didn't win for this last 2 years because we've been waiting to give it to you this year. So, as for that though, my top, I'll quickly go through 20 to 11, and then we'll get into the meat. So my number 20 was Spring, Summer, Fall, Winter, and Spring. A very interesting film if you ever get a chance to check it out. American Splendor, Open Range, Gods and Generals, Elf, you gotta love Elf. Basic with Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson. Pirates of the Caribbean. That's the year that Johnny Depp actually got nominated for it. Shocking. So, Secondhand Lions, X-Men 2, and The Matrix Reloaded. Those were my 11 through 20 reversed there, so it's like 20 through 11 technically. Anyway, so moving on to the actual ones that made my top 10. Number 10, Matrix Revolutions. I know people are down on this movie in a lot of ways, but I don't know. I think this had one of the best superhero fight scenes ever with flying for the first time at the end. I don't know. I got into the whole Neo in the real world versus what's going on back at Zion. There's some really cheesy moments, don't get me wrong. Particularly the kid that has to open the gate that's like, I believe in you, Neo. I believe. It's like, shut up, kid. It's like, just shoot the gate. You don't need to talk. But overall, I really enjoy the Matrix franchise. I know a lot of people don't like 2 and 3. I do like 2 and 3. I can easily admit they're not as good as 1. 1 is like the bomb. It's incredible. 2 and 3, I think, are not as good, but really good nonetheless, and have their moments. So number 11 was Reloaded, which I think is the weakest out of the 3. And then number 10, I think, is got to be Revolutions. Yeah, it's a really solid film. It's there's a lot going on there and some amazing work. Okay, next up, On Bak the Thai Warrior. This is the first time I ever saw Tony Jaa. And if you haven't seen Tony Jaa, like he's doing a lot more mainstream stuff now, which is occasionally silly because like he fought Paul Walker, I believe, in Furious 7 and loses, which is just like, yeah, that's not happening. But yeah, Tony Jaa is one of the most insane martial artists in the world. He does a lot of things that you shouldn't be able to do. And On Bak the Thai Warrior is one of the first times the world really got to see what he could do and how insane it is. The plot is somewhat silly, but the action more than makes up for it. And the acting's not bad in certain spots. In certain spots, it's pretty cringe. All right, number 8, Old Boy. The original Old Boy, not the Josh Brolin Old Boy, the original Old Boy, the Korean Old Boy. Yeah, the hammer scene in the hallway, the reveal at the end, like this. They didn't need to remake this. It's such a good film. They should just left it alone. And it's disturbing. It's straight up disturbing, especially at the end. It's disturbing, but it's also amazing. So yeah. Yep. Number 7, The Last Samurai. Who knew Tom Cruise could pull off this movie at all? Like, I remember hearing about it going, really? That's, but I watched it in theaters and was amazed. It's really well made. Edward Zwick, I believe, directed it, and he did a great job. Just the whole cast works really, really well, and I love Japanese stuff and samurais and stuff like that. It works. I don't know. It just works. What do you want me to tell you? I'm shocked too that it's number 7, but it is. All right, number 6, the first Oscar film that's on the list, or at least on the top 10. Lost in Translation. This, man, they didn't give the Oscar to Bill Murray. Bill Murray has done a lifetime of work that's awesome, but never going to get Oscar nominated because a lot of them are comedies that, even though they're really hard to do, the Academy doesn't recognize them. It's just another reason I don't care about the Oscars, but I always put it in there because I know people do. But, yeah, he was up against Sean Penn, and they give it to Sean Penn for Mystic River. Now, Sean Penn's fine in Mystic River. He's good. Don't get me wrong. But Bill Murray in Lost in Translation went places that people didn't think Bill Murray could go. And it's Sofia Coppola. I think it's her best work. Again, Japan, Two movies about Japan side by side. And look at modern Japan and how someone who doesn't do technology the same way that young people would look at modern Japan and just be very isolated and alone. Scarlett Johansson's in this too. It's a really good film. And yeah, I think he got robbed. I think they probably should have just given it to Bill Murray. And I think Sean Penn probably would have been fine with it. But, I don't know him that well. We only hang out on weekends. All right, moving on. Number 5. Sorry, not 6. 5. Zatoichi, the Blind Swordsman. Yeah, now, I know they have done tons of Zatoichi Blind Swordsman movies. I didn't know that when I watched this. And I've seen some of the older ones. And I've seen the newer one. And the newer one, the older ones are great, don't get me wrong. I love the newer one. It's fantastic. It's a sword guy that's blind, basically, that everyone thinks he's a gambling guy that is blind and he couldn't possibly be, a threat, and he kills a bunch of people because they're bad. And other than the big dance scene at the end, and I'm not kidding when I say that, the whole town dances, this movie is fantastic. The whole town dancing, I don't understand. I guess it's an Asian cinema thing. Did you know they don't do that unless you're in La La Land in North American movies, but yeah, it's just great. I really, really love that film. And, okay, now moving on. I think, hold on, let me check the scores. Yeah, everything up to that wasn't five stars. Everything now is 5 stars and above. Well, above. 5 stars, because there's no above. Anyways, but number 1 probably would be above if there wasn't above. But anyways. Number 4, Anton Fuqua and Bruce Willis possibly doing some of their best work together in Tears of the Sun. I don't know. People seem to not like this movie as much as I do. I think this movie is freaking fantastic. It's great and knocks it out of the park. It's the action, the drama, the situation. I think it's all kind of on point. And yeah, it's just really solid. Yeah, you get it. A bunch of solids. I think it's a great movie. I think it's Anton Fuqua's best movie. I think people tend to overlook it as just that Bruce Willis thing where they rescue people. But no, it's great. It's flat out amazing. So, number 3, the winner for Oscar for Best Animated Feature that year. Didn't have much competition, to be truthful. It was Brother Bear and some movie I don't know, I think. Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo is one of Pixar's probably top 5 movies. Yeah, I think it has to be. It's probably top 5. It is fantastic. There's very quotable, like 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. I'm never going to forget that address, even though I forget lots of things nowadays. It's just very memorable, and it's very touching, and they do a great job of showing a father-son relationship that's damaged, but loving at the same time. So, number 2, Kill Bill Volume 1. Kill Bill Volume 1 is Kill Bill Volume 1. As much as I'd like to put all these movies together, the 2 Kill Bill movies, it came out as 2, so I'm got to go with it. Tarantino usually ends up in my top 3, and he's number 2. It's Kill Bill. But what beat Kill Bill, mind you? Well, of course, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King is my number 1 film of 2003. It has to be. It has to be. It's one of the greatest movies ever made. I put them as one movie, in case anyone's wondering. It's a trilogy, but it's not a trilogy. It's one movie split into 3 spots. Unlike Dark Knight, the Dark Knight trilogy is a trilogy because it was 3 movies that were written separately. This was one movie filmed continuously over 4 years that was cut up into 3 parts because they would never put a 12-hour movie in cinemas for hope that it would fail. And and I understand that. So it's really one film, and that's why they gave all the Oscars to it this year, in 2004 for the 2003, because they're literally oh, we have to, because it's been the best thing out there for a long time, and now we don't have a choice but to give it an honor. It's Lord of the Ring, Return of the King. It has so many epic moments. A little while ago, I watched all 3 movies in one day, back to back. You know what I mean? The discs. So, it took us 12 and a half hours or whatever it is. It's we watched the entire thing. And it was incredibly fulfilling. Kind of tiring, but fulfilling. So that is the #1 movie of 2003. Now we're moving to feeding my addiction. Now, I haven't been feeding my addiction very much, my addiction being buying movies. I've been pretty well, I bought 2 movies a little while ago, because I'd gone through something and I was like, I'm treating myself to 2 movies, because they were 2 for $20. And so I'm trying to think what I bought that day. But it doesn't matter. Let's move on to what I actually bought this day. What I bought this day, or this weekend that just went by, I was at a place that I don't normally go to, and they had a bunch of movies, a place called Giant Tiger. I don't know if they have those in the United States or anywhere else, but they have them in Canada, and they have cheap movies. So $5 is my kryptonite. If a movie that I want is $5, I have to buy it. If it's $3, it's even worse, but $5 is the kryptonite, as my friend liked to refer to it. So I saw these movies. Some of them are for me, some of them are for the family. So first one, Don Juan DeMarco. I've only seen this movie once. My wife really likes it, and so we had it on DVD. We still have it on DVD, and we $5. I'm slowly replacing all my DVDs into Blu-rays if I can for $5 or under. What are you gonna do? $5 or under? There it is. So Don Juan DeMarco. Yeah, I can't remember much about the movie. I know it's Marlon Brando and Johnny Depp, but yeah. Anyway, next up, American Tail: Fievel Goes West. Classic Don Bluth animation. Steven Spielberg presented it. You know, it's a kids animated thing. That's a lot of fun. A lot of good memories. So yeah, that was $5. These are all $5. Next up we have Chaplin. The Robert Downey Jr. Chaplin. Now it's funny. My wife hated this the first time she saw it. She's only ever seen it once. I've never seen it because she told me she hated it so much. Because she loves Chaplin. She loves Charlie Chaplin movies. And she just didn't like it, but my friend told me how great it was and how much he loves it. And so she's willing to give it another shot, and for $5 I was like, okay. And so she went, $5, there you go, Chaplin. So we bought that. And last, well, not least, for $5, I could not believe I saw this. I was hoping to get it on Criterion, but I hope to get a lot of movies on Criterion. So when I see this for $5 as a normal Blu-ray, I gotta pick it up, and that is The Fantastic Mr. Fox by Wes Anderson. $5 for that on Blu-ray, and it came with a digital copy. It's probably expired, so don't anyone freak out. But yeah, $5. George Clooney, Meryl Streep, Jason Schwartzman, Fantastic Mr. Fox. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna buy that for $5. So yeah, that was what I bought, and I probably won't be buying anything anytime soon, but you know, that's why feeding my addiction is only going to be an occasional thing until Christmas. Like Christmas I get a lot, and then I buy stuff on a thing called Boxing Day. Anyways, moving on. Alright, last up, I didn't get any questions this week. I'm going to put a thing out for questions for next week, but so last thing we got is Letterboxd Diary. So I'm just going to go through my Letterboxd Diary and tell you what I've been watching and how awesome and how not awesome they are. I saw Upgrade at the trailer for my wife's birthday. It was my wife's birthday, and so she's like, "Let's go see movies," and I was like, "Yeah." And so she picked the movies, and she's like, "We can go see 2 because they start right after each other." Which, you know, 2. I don't know why I said it that way. Anyways, Upgrade. We saw Upgrade in theaters, which has been out for a couple weeks, but we wanted to see really badly. It looked like a lot of fun, and it is a lot of fun. It's very violent fun. If you don't know, Upgrade's the movie where the guy has a chip in his back because he gets his spine severed, and so the chip is basically like Jarvis kind of, and it controls his body, and then when he's losing a fight, he tells it to take over, and then it kicks people's asses really badly. So the story was a little predictable at the end, but still satisfying, if that makes any sense. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 beards out of 5. Saw that in the theater. And then we finished that, and walked out, bought tickets to see Sicario, Day of the Soldado. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's Soldado. So Soldado. That's what I'm going to say. Huge fan of Sicario, the first one. Loved it. Thought it was great. Loved the director, you know, it's Denis Villeneuve, and Roger Deakins shot it, and you know, Emily Blunt, I love. So that whole thing worked. And then they did a sequel, and the sequel works. It's not as good because all those three people I mentioned aren't there. it's more the story of Josh Brolin and Benicio del Toro, and what's going on. It kind of goes directions that I wasn't expecting it to. Like it sets up things and then doesn't fulfill them, but it goes other directions too. So I liked the movie. I thought it was very solid, very good. The same guy who wrote the first one wrote this one. His name is Taylor Sheridan. He also wrote Hell or High Water, and wrote and directed Wind River, which if you have not seen, I highly recommend you watch. It's great. So yeah, we saw that for the second movie, and then we went for dinner. But anyways, I give that four beards, also 4 stars, 4 beards, whatever. I would put it just a bit above Upgrade as movies go, and I put them both on the list for my Letterboxd. If you go on Letterboxd, I'm Bearded Movie Guy. If you want to see what I've been watching or see my lists, I have lists going back to the 30s for movies that I've watched for top movies of every year. And that's, you get a sneak peek of what I'm going to be doing next week, I guess, if you look at the 2002 one, if you really want. Anyway, so I saw that. Then I had this big break. It's funny. Two friends of mine, Brian Lomax and Graham Davidson? I don't know. Graham, your last name just escaped me. I might be right, though. I might be wrong. Anyways, the guys that do Brits on Flicks podcast both mentioned that they had gone 4 days without seeing a movie, and I thought that was funny, and then I realized I went 5 days without seeing a movie. Or I guess 4 days, because the first is when I saw those, and then I went second, third, fourth, fifth, and then I saw a movie. So then I saw Ant-Man And The Wasp. So I didn't see movies this week. I was very busy. So like Sunday I saw movies, and then Friday I saw movies. Weird. So I saw Ant-Man And The Wasp. I've already talked about it. I give it 3 beards out of 5. I saw it in the theater. Next up, my youngest daughter. It was her choice, as seen on the Vampire Tag Noise. It was her choice for a movie out of our collection, and she picked Darkman, not knowing a thing about it. Darkman from 1990, which is a cheesy Sam Raimi movie, which has Liam Neeson and Frances McDormand in the leads. I never would have guessed they would turn into huge stars from this, because it's a fairly cheesy movie. They work as well as they can with the dialogue they are given. It took 5 people to write the screenplay. I was amazed at that, because it's not a very good screenplay. It's Sam Raimi. It's cheesy. It's fun. I thought they would not like it as much, but both my daughters actually liked it a fair bit. But yeah, it's I give it 2.5 out of 5. It's not great, but it's, I haven't seen any of the other Darkmans, and they don't really tie too well. Like, they're not the same director or anything like that. So yeah. Next up, I watched a movie called They Were Expendable. I record movies off the Turner Classic Movie Network. That every week I go in and see what they're. And there's this movie called They Were Expendable with John Wayne, and it was directed by John Ford after he was in World War II. So he actually went to World War II. There's a great documentary on Netflix called 5 Came Back about filmmakers that went to World War II to document what was going on. And John Ford was one of them, and he literally saw D-Day. He was there at D-Day and saw D-Day, and it wrecked him as a human being. He literally went on a 3-day drinking bender after D-Day. And then he went back. They sent him. He was done after the war. Like, that was it. They couldn't do anything more in the war because it was just wrecked from what he saw. And he went back and was like, I got to make some war movies because, I've been there and seen things, so I need to kind of, And they made this movie about a torpedo boat crew, bunch of the crews in the torpedo boat in their division. And it's called They Were Expendable. It's from 1945. It's worth watching. It's not great, like, it's not going to change your life or anything like that, but I thought it was pretty solid. John Wayne was good. And it ends on kind of very down note, almost, even though, like, the people, it's just, you have to watch it. It's just, yeah, they were expendable. So, John Wayne doesn't die, just to tell you. I don't know. Spoiler. So, I give it 3.5 out of 5. Next up, I watched Godzilla Planet of the Monsters, which is a Netflix movie TV show. I don't know. It says episode 1, but they haven't made any more episodes. It's from 2017, and it's a Netflix original. It's basically Godzilla has chased everyone off the planet. They're all living in spaceships for 20 years, and they've been hyper jumping around. And when they finally decide to come back, and they're like, we're going to kill Godzilla because we want our planet back because we can't find a place to live. It's been like 20,000 years in Earth time because they've been jumping around sleep, space, whatever, spaceship stuff, whatever. Relativity, bitches. So, and they fight Godzilla. It's animated. It's interesting. It's not phenomenal, but it was interesting. I don't know if it's supposed to be a series. Like, I'm fine if they turn it into one. I'm fine if they don't. It didn't rock my world in any way, but I thought it was okay. I give it 3 beards out of 5. It's on Netflix. Next up, last night we watched Notorious. The original, I don't know if there's not a sequel, even though technically kind of, Mission Impossible 2 steals a lot from Notorious. Like, a lot. Which isn't saying much, but it steals a lot of scenes and concepts from Notorious. It's an Alfred Hitchcock movie, 1945, 46. And it's Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman, and it is great. Claude Rains is also in it. It's pretty fantastic. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of drama and about a key and like, do they know, do they not know, like stuff. And it's basically about a girl who's spying, is brought in to spy on somebody because he likes her, and they want to know what they're up to. The Americans want to know what this German guy's up to. So again, Mission Impossible 2 steals a lot from it. It's really good. It's pretty iconic in a lot of ways. I give it 4 beards out of 5. It's, I love Hitchcock. And last but not least, I watched Deathstalker. Amazon Prime has been putting a lot of 80s movies on that I saw posters for when I was a kid and never got to see. Deathstalker being one of them. And most of them are not good films, I gotta be honest. Like, a lot of them are heavily relying on the fact that they have naked ladies in them and stuff like that and bad swordplay. But I keep watching them anyways because I want to see what I missed, and then I can watch them once and get over it. So Deathstalker, I'll tell you right now, if you see the poster, the guy on the poster is fighting a bigger guy than him, much bigger, that's like a demon-looking guy. That doesn't happen in the movie. I hate when that happens. Don't put crap on your posters that doesn't happen in the movie. But yeah, it's not a good film. It's a lot of cheesy lines and bad acting and some bad swordplay. But kind of enjoyable still. I don't know. I give it 1.5 out of 5. And yeah, that's what I've been watching. So that's it for this week. Yeah, I don't got anything more to talk about. Like, I will take questions if I get any. I'm going to put a thing out on Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff and see if anyone has any questions for me. I'll answer them if you give me them. If you're listening still, that's awesome. If you turned off a long time ago, you can't hear this, so it doesn't matter. Thanks for listening if you have, and I'm going to keep making these just because I'm interested in making them right now. I got 10 views from the last, or 11 views. Technically 10 now. So I'm going to try for 11 this week. If you can pass this around to any friends of yours, let them know I'm still out here making stuff. And yeah, until next time, stay bearded. And as always, YouTube safely.